be painting with these chalk pastels. If this combination helps you or entertains you, don't forget to subscribe to my channel before you fall asleep. At the end of this video, I will have a little personal rant. I hope by then you're already asleep and won't even hear it, but I have to tell you something. Anyway, if you want to fall asleep, now it's the time to lay back, relax, maybe close your eyes and give yourself away to the sounds. The first man that we'll be learning about tonight is named Ivan Milat. Ivanmilat. By the way, is there any Australian in the comments? I know there has to be at least one, because Australia is the third country that watches my videos, which I'm sure it's not that many, maybe 10 people, which is still awesome. So say hi. Let me know if you've heard about this guy. I'm pretty sure you have. This man, Ivan Milat, was born in 1944 in New South Wales. He is the son of a Croatian immigrant and laborer Stefan Marko Milat. They called him Steven. And his mother was Margaret Elizabeth Biddleston, an Australian national. Ivan was the fifth of their 14 children. What in the world? Can you imagine 14? I cannot. I am the fifth and last of my family. The impoverished Milat family initially lived on a rural weatherboard cottage in Bosley Park, which is 36 kilometers west of Sydney. And then they relocated to Liverpool. Even though they were poor and many in gowns, they cared very much about educating and disciplining their children and sent them all to Catholic schools. However, family members described Milat's father as having a temper due to his alcoholism. Out of the 14 children, 10 were boys, including Ivan. And many of these 10 boys were well known to local police and were used to handling knives and firearms. And they spent the afternoons shooting at targets in their was sentenced to 18 months for breaking and entering, and a month after release he was arrested again for driving a stolen car and sentenced to 2 years hard labor. I guess this is exactly what is called antisocial behavior, because no matter how many times he gets the punishment of the wrong things that he does not care. He just keeps doing the wrong things over and over again. And it seems that when he was born, his life was already made for him. Living like that, you have to be a very strong person to overcome all of this. I mean, if you have 9 brothers and you're all from the very, beginning, from the very young age, you start behaving in this way and you never learn how to deal with it and how to be normal, to be a person who can be a part of society. They don't learn. It's really a shame, isn't it? It seems that nobody helped these children and they grew up to be adults. I mean, nothing changes when you go from 17 to 18. They just bring with them all the wrong behaviors that they've learned all through their childhood. And they didn't care. In September 1967, now he's 22, and he gets sentenced to 3 years in prison for theft. And from here on, it only gets worse. Ivan Milat on 7th of April 1971 abducted 2 18-year-old female hitchhikers near Liverpool railway station using a knife. He RAP'd one of the hitchhikers before they stopped at the petrol station cafe, where they managed to escape. Ivan was arrested later that day and was charged with 1 count of that and 2 counts of armed robbery. Now tell me, why is that while he was awaiting trial, he was free? Because he then went on a string of robberies with his brothers, and then he faked that he did something to himself, and he died. And he left his shoes at a well-known Sydney, site that people do this thing. But it was not believed by many, because authorities believed that Ivan then fled to Queensland and Victoria before flying to New Zealand, where he lived for 2 years. That's crazy. However, Ivan is suspected of having returned using a fake passport and lived interstate to avoid detection. Now, why is he so good at this? How did he get away with that? He was arrested in 1974 after his mother was taken to hospital suffering from a heart attack, but the robbery and kidnap cases against him failed at trial. Now, what do you mean he was rearrested after his mother was taken to hospital suffering from a heart attack? Does that mean that he went to see his mother in the hospital and that's where they arrested him? Because that's nuts. Why would he risk that if he doesn't have any care for the world or human life? But he cares that his mother had a heart attack. I mean, I'm not sure if that's what happened. They had a good family lawyer, the Milats. This man was named John Marsden, Marsden, and he was successful in throwing out the robbery and kidnap cases against him, so he didn't even get convicted for that. And Ivan took on a job as a truck driver in 75, and by the time of his arrest he had worked on and off for this company called Roads and Traffic Authority for 20 years. In 77, Ivan unsuccessfully attempted to RIB and murdered 2 women who were hitchhiking from Liverpool to Canberra. Is that how you pronounce that? Canberra? I don't know. But he was never charged. Why doesn't this man get charged? He just goes around committing these horrible things. And each time that he sees he can get away with it, he gets bolder, because now he is attempting to KILL these poor women. By the late 80s, people were disappearing. One case involved a young Victorian couple from Frankston named Deborah Everest, 19, and James Gibson, also 19, who had been missing since leaving Sydney for Confessed near Albury in December of 89. Now where is Confessed? CONFEST. Let's see what that is. Is an alternative bush compound festival held in the southeastern state of Australia annually during and around Easter. The name Confessed is a concatenation of the words conference and festival. Interesting. Confessed. So it's like an history festival. This poor couple are just trying to have some fun. So this happened near Albury in 89. Another was Simon Schmidl, 21, from Germany. He had been missing since leaving Sydney for Melbourne on 20 of January 1991. And similar to these cases, there was a German couple, which I cannot pronounce their name, Neugebauer, probably Neugebauer, 21, and his wife Anja Hopschied, maybe Anja, these people are so young too. They disappeared after leaving at King's Cross Hustle for Mildura in December of 91. So from 88, 89 to early 90s he was very active. Additionally, there was British backpackers named Caroline Clark, 21, and Joanne Walters, 22, which were also last seen in King's Cross on 18 of April 92. And they were all taken in such happy places, They were going out in the nature, trying to hike or going to a festival. And these foreigners, they were probably traveling and trying to have some fun. And so young too, all 19 to 22. He was really good at guessing ages, I think. If he targeted them for being young, I don't know. Now, on 19th of September 92 is where police gets some insight in why people are missing. Two runners discovered a concealed corpse while walking around in Belanglo. 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 The following morning, police discovered a second body only 30 meters from the first. So it's getting confirmed that this is the place where a serial killers is dumping the bodies of his victims. Police quickly confirmed via dental records that the bodies were those of Clark and Walters, which were the two British backpackers that went missing. Walters had been stabbed 15 times. They were both women, by the way. 4 times in the chest, once in the neck, and 9 times in the back, which would have paralyzed her. And her friend Clark had been shot 10 times in the head at the burial site where she was found. And the most horrific thing I've heard so far, that police believes she had been used as a target practice. After a thorough search of the forest, investigators ruled out the possibility for further discoveries. But only a while later, the last one was September 19. This one is next year, October 5th, 1993. A local man searching for firewood discovered bones in a particularly remote section of Belanglo. He returned with police to the scene, where 2 bodies were quickly been, yes, young Victorian couple, Deborah Everest and James Gibson. They are the ones who went to the confest. Unfortunately, their bodies were found, and they realized that Gibson's skeleton that was found in a fetal position showed 8 stab wounds. A large knife had cut through his upper spine, causing paralysis, and stab wounds to his back and chest would have punctured his heart and lungs. He's so savage. What is wrong with this human? Dear Lord, how scary must have that been. Would you guys rather see a grizzly bear? Australia doesn't have grizzly bears, I don't think. It definitely doesn't. But just imagine, I would rather get attacked by a grizzly bear than this man out in my peaceful place just jumping out of a tree. It's just horrible. His wife, Everest, only 19, they are both 19, had been savagely beaten. Her skull was fractured in 2 places, and her jaw was broken, and there were knife marks on her forehead. She had been stabbed once in the back. I should definitely make sure to put a content warning at the beginning of this video, because these are some gruesome details. And that's the thing with the older cases you read. Everything is out. But when I read about the most recent news, there's usually not much out, so it's less detailed. But this thing is just mad. When Gibson and Everest went missing, their backpack and camera was found in '89 in a completely different place. But then their body was found somewhere else, 120 kilometers away from their body. On November 1st, 1993, so the last one were found in October the same year. A month later, another skeleton was found, this time in a clearing along a fire trail in the Langlo during a police sweep. Every time I say that word, it makes me laugh because I'm pretty sure I'm saying it wrong. So let's do the right thing and not be lazy and ask Google how to pronounce this word. Apparently it's pronounced Belongo. Belongo. So L is not pronounced. I had that suspicion. Belanglo sounds really funny now. It did before, now it's even more. Either way, on November 1st, as I said, another body was found along a fire trail in Belango during a police sweep. It was later identified as the German man Schmidl and bore at least 8 stab wounds. 2 of them their spine. Oh, it was a girl. Why did I think it was a boy? And others would have punctured her heart and lungs. I hope to God that he did not start by stabbing them in the spine to make them. I hope that it was at least quick. Dear God, clothing found at the scene was not of hers, but matched that of another missing backpacker, Habschild, Habschied. The bodies of this German couple, Habschied and Neugebauer, I don't know, were then found on a nearby fire trail. Only 3 days after the last one, they were in shallow graves 50 meters apart. Habschild, which is the wife, had been decapitated, and despite an extensive search, her skull was never found. Her husband had been shot in the head 6 times. There was evidence that some of the victims did not die instantly from their injuries. Dear God, that is what I was fearful of. I hope it was quick. Examination of the remains showed evidence that some of the victims had been tortured. In response, on October 14 of the same year, 93, Task Force Air, containing more than 20 detectives and analysts, was set up by the New South Wales Police. The New South Wales government increased the reward in relation to these killings to a 500,000 Australian dollars. After developing their profile of the killer, the police faced an enormous volume of data from numerous sources. One can only imagine how much they have to do when there is so many victims in different places. It's hard when it's only one. Now imagine what police has to do to go over these many victims. Investigators applied link analysis technology, and as a result the list of suspects was narrowed from a short list of 230 to an even shorter list of 32. That's amazing. Now let's see what link analysis is. I thought I would have time to do 2 cases, but clearly I did not anticipate how much detail there was in this one. So it will only be this for today by month. But my Australian viewers, if you want me to do another one that I had in mind, which was named, Eric Edgar Cook. He's an older serial killer. Let me know, I'll do that too. But back to this case. So they said that they had narrowed down the list of their suspects by using link analysis, which it says suspect that there could possibly be in Australia. I'm sure they were all people who were in the system before, as Ivan was. You don't expect someone without any previous crimes to go on and do these crimes. So that is how they got him. They just gave the information to this technology about what they were looking for. That's very smart. Speculation arose that the crimes were the work of several people, given that most of the victims had been attacked while as pairs, had been killed in different ways and buried separately. Interesting, so they were saying maybe the ones that were solo were not from the same person. Maybe. On 13th of November, but a serial killer doesn't have to be exact. Doesn't have to have the exact MO every time, you know. On 13th of November, only a few days later, police were contacted by Paul Onions, interesting last name, 24, who was from UK. A few years earlier, in January of 1990, Paul said that he had been backpacking in Australia, and while hitchhiking from Liverpool station towards Mildura, he had accepted a ride from a man he known only as Bill. South of the town and less than 1 kilometer from Blanco, I already forgot Blanco. He said that Bill pulled out a revolver and some rope to rob Paul, at which point he managed to flee, while Bill quote-unquote shot at him. Paul Onions flagged down a passing motorist named Joanne Berry at Canberra, and together they described the assailant and his vehicle and also registration number to the police. On 13th of April 1944, detectives refound the note regarding Onion's call. Now, how crazy that is, that they came back to it, but if someone threw that note out, I mean, that's important. Why didn't they immediately look into it though? I don't know. This man seems to have some demonic luck going on for him. But they went back to the note. His statement was corroborated by the woman she said the motorist Berry, along with the girlfriend of the man who worked with Ivan. Later, I assume. So all of those things combined led police to surveillance the Ivan Milat house, which was in Cinnabar Street in Eagle Vale. Police soon learned that Ivan had recently sold his silver Nissan Patrol shortly after the discovery of the bodies of Clark and Walters. So as soon as the bodies were getting found, the first bodies, he sold his car. Police also confirmed that Ivan had not been working on any of the days of the attacks, and acquaintances also told police about Ivan's obsession with weapons. When the connection between the Blanco murders and Paul Onion's experience was made, Paul flew to Australia to help with the investigation. What a good man. On 5th of May 1994, he positively identified Ivan as the man who had picked him up and attempted to shoot at him. Milat was arrested at his house in 1994 on robbery and weapons charges related to Paul Onion's attack, after 50 police officers surrounded the house. So they could catch him for one thing that they were sure of. The murders were come later. The search of the residence revealed various weapons, which I won't be reading about. Sorry, boys, if any of you listening. Also uncovered were items belonging to several of the victims. Homes belonging to Ivan Milat's mother and 5 of his brothers were also searched, and they uncovered several more items belonging to the victims. Milat appeared in court on 23rd of May, but he did not enter a plea, and later the same month he was charged with the 7 backpacker murders. A few months later, the next month actually, Ivan sacked James Marston, his family's lawyer, and sought legal aid to pay for his defense. What? Meanwhile, brothers Richard and Walter were tried in relation to weapons, drugs, and stolen items found on their property. And then, based on all of this evidence, at the beginning of February of 1995, Ivan was remanded in custody until June that same year. Milat's trial opened at Supreme Court of New South Wales in Sydney in 1996, and despite the overwhelming evidence against him, Ivan was reported as having been confident he would be found innocent. I mean, after all of this time, getting away with all of it, he just thought he was invincible. In foreign recordings, Ivan stated his grounds for believing he would be found innocent. He said, quote, "My basic defense in my trial was that it wasn't me. I don't know who did it. It was up to them to prove my guilt, not for me to prove my innocence." End quote. I mean, that is true, but they definitely have a lot of evidence against you. His defense argued that in spite of the evidence, there was no non-circumstantial proof that Ivan was guilty, and attempted to shift the blame to other family members of his family, particularly Richard. 145 witnesses took the stand, including members of the Ivan Milat family, who endeavored to prove alibis. On June 18, Ivan gave evidence himself. After 18 weeks of testimony, that's a lot, a jury found Ivan Milat guilty of the murders. He was given a life sentence on each count without the possibility of parole. He was also convicted of the attempted murder, false imprisonment, and robbery of Bob Onions, the man who helped to catch him, for which he received an additional 6 years. But that's at least a good ending. It would be better if he was dead. But unfortunately, he was alive up until October 27, 2019. Imagine this. Evil of a man got to live to age 74. That's just not fair, I don't think. Now let's read some parts of his personal life before and after he was caught. In 1983, Milat met 16-year-old Karen Duck, who was pregnant by Ivan's cousin. They married in 84 and had one daughter of their own. However, few years later, Duck left Ivan due to TV, and they divorced in 89. At trial, she was there, and she described Ivan as gun crazy, G-U-N crazy, recalling him killing kangaroos on a visit to Belango State Forest. Now that's what in the world? Are they just running around in... Okay, that's crazy. Milat's great-nephew, Matthew Milat, and his friend Cohen Klein were sentenced in 2012 to 43 years and 32 years, respectively, for murdering someone in the same state forest, Belango, in November 2010. So their whole freaking bloodline are apparently crazy, bloodthirsty monsters. And why is that? On 18 of July 2005, something shocking came out. John Marston, who was the former lawyer of Milat's family and Ivan, made a deathbed statement in which he claimed that Ivan had been assisted by his sister, Shirley Shore, I don't know how to say the last name, in the killings of the two British backpackers. Now why would she do that? Why are their whole family crazy? They didn't know these people. What did they go off? Did they hate them because they were from somewhere else? I don't understand how they chose these poor people to attack. In May 2015, Ivan's brother, Boris, told a former detective, that Ivan had admitted responsibility for accidentally shooting taxi driver Neville Knight with a shotgun during an attempted robbery on 6th of March 1962, when Ivan was only 17. Unfortunately, Neville was left paralyzed from the waist down. Milat was never caught, and an innocent man named Alan Dillon was convicted and served 5 years for the crime. After conducting polygraph tests with Boris and Dylan, they became convinced that Ivan was the one who shot Neville Knight. So who knows how many more people he might have hurt. I hope it's only these ones that were noticed. But unfortunately, authorities never charged Ivan with the crime because he was already serving life. Similarly, a superintendent who led the investigation into the backpacker murders also believes that Ivan was responsible for shooting Knight. That is a crazy case. At the end of it, there are a lot more that I could read about this man, but I am running out of breath and kind of getting very, very lightheaded from all the whispering, and I really need to eat. It gets really hard to eat sometimes. Anyway, I hope this far into the video you're already asleep and none of the things that I read about will affect it in any way, because you are in charge of your mind and what you will dream. But if you're not, I wanted to say thank you for watching my videos and leaving a lot of lovely comments. It truly makes my day to hear that people are actually listening to these things, because sometimes I think I'm losing my mind sitting in this tiny closet whispering to myself. But then I see that no, people are actually listening. It is crazy. And I also wanted to say that I've been wanting to make money from my channel, but unfortunately it is not possible to do that directly right now. I have gone through almost every place that I could use for it here, but all have rejected my channel, either because of the amount of views or because they wanted to take over it, or that they didn't like the content. There's still one option left, but I would have to have 20,000 views a month, which is still a lot for me. I need to almost double my views. But the frustrating part for me is that that's really not necessary. I could be making money with the same amount of views. So there's another way, and for that I really need your help. If you're interested, what I was saying, if you're interested to know and learn what I'm talking about, send me a direct message on Instagram. I will link it below. And let me know if you want to hear about it, because I don't want to go here.